Welcome to I'm Watching You. This is our deep dive where we take all those sources you send us, the articles, the filings, the official statements, and really boil them down to what you need to know.
Yep, cutting through the noise. We try to give you the essential facts so you're properly informed.
And today, we're looking at something that hits close to home for a lot of us, the food supply chain. Specifically, this. Well, a parent cyber incident involving a huge distributor, United Natural Foods, UNFI.
That's right. And we're looking at the ripples, especially how it's affecting stores like Whole Foods.
Exactly. So what we have in front of us, we've got UNFI's official SEC filing, their public statements giving updates, and quite a few news articles tracking this whole thing.
And our goal here, just to be clear, is to pull out the key pieces from these sources. What seems to have happened? What are the immediate effects? What are they doing about it?
Crucially, based only on what the sources say, we're sticking to the knowns, not, jumping to conclusions.
Exactly. It's about the facts on the ground.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Where do the sources say this all kicked off?
Right. The official starting point, according to UNFI's own SEC filing, was Friday, June 5th, 2025.
June 5th. And what happened then?
That's the day the company detected what they officially termed unauthorized activity on some of its IT systems, information technology systems.
Unauthorized activity. Okay, sounds vague but concerning. So they spot this on Friday. What was the immediate reaction?
Well, the sources, both the filing and a statement from June 9th, say they moved pretty quickly. They activated their incident response plan.
Just like their pre-planned playbook for this kind of thing.
Exactly, their emergency procedure. They took steps to contain the situation, and, this is key, they proactively took certain systems offline.
Offline. For a distributor that huge, that sounds like a major step.
Oh, it is. It definitely signals they viewed this as a serious threat, serious enough to pull the plug on some operations to stop it spreading or, causing more damage.
But that makes sense. It's a drastic containment move, but probably necessary.
Yeah, and it has immediate knock-on effects, obviously. If your ordering or logistics systems are down, well, things grind to a halt. The sources also mentioned they didn't go it alone.
Right, they brought in help.
Yep. Third-party cybersecurity experts were engaged to help investigate and respond, and they also notified law enforcement.
Okay, so standard procedure for a major incident, but definitely indicates the severity. Experts, law enforcement.
Significant steps, yes.
So this all happened starting Friday, response over the weekend. When did the rest of us, the public, find out officially?
That happened on Monday, June 9th. UNFI is a publicly traded company, so they have to disclose material events. They did that by filing a Form 8K with the SEC.
The Securities and Exchange Commission. And what did that filing actually tell investors and the public about what was going on?
The language was pretty direct. It said the incident had already, quote, temporarily impacted the company's ability to fulfill and distribute customer orders.
Already impacted.
Okay. And it went on to warn that it has caused and is expected to continue to cause temporary disruptions to the company's business operations.
Temporary disruptions. But disruptions that mean they can't get orders out the door properly? That sounds pretty significant for a distributor.
Absolutely. And their public statement around the same time, that Monday, June 9th, it basically echoed the filing. Confirmed systems were taken offline after they found the unauthorized activity.
And they were working to fix it.
Yes, working to safely restore things and, quote, minimize disruption. News outlets covering this immediately started calling it an apparent cyber attack.
Apparent cyber attack.
And they pointed out the obvious short-term impact. UNFI probably wouldn't be able to fully process or ship all its orders while they were investigating and trying to get systems back online.
Right, and this is where the story gets really tangible for a lot of people, because UNFI isn't just some abstract company. They're a critical piece of the puzzle for getting food onto store shelves.
A huge piece. And the connection that jumped out in the news reports is their relationship with Whole Foods, owned by Amazon.
How big is that relationship?
UNFI is described as the primary distributor for Whole Foods. The articles even mentioned they just signed an 8-year extension on their deal last year, so it's a major long-term partnership.
Primary distributor. Okay, so if UNFI has system problems stopping them from fulfilling orders, how does that specifically hit Whole Foods? What does that look like?
Well, one news source got hold of what sounds like an internal communication from Whole Foods to its employees.
Oh, interesting. What did it say?
It explained that the problem at UNFI, the apparent cyber attack, was directly affecting UNFI's ability to select and ship products from their warehouses.
Ah, okay, so right at the core of what a distributor does, picking the items, putting them on trucks.
Exactly. And if UNFI can't do that efficiently or at all for some things.
Then the stores downstream, like Whole Foods, aren't getting their deliveries.
Right. That same internal memo reportedly told Whole Foods staff to expect an impact on our normal delivery schedules and product availability.
Product availability, meaning empty spaces on shelves?
Potentially, yes. Whole Foods also put out a public statement. They acknowledged the supply issues linked to UNFI.
What did they say publicly?
They said they were working to restock our shelves as quickly as possible and apologized for, quote, any inconvenience this may have caused for customers.
That internal memo you mentioned, did it give the Whole Foods staff any idea how long this might last? Or, like, how to talk about it?
It did, and it kind of shows the immediate uncertainty. The report said Whole Foods told employees the situation might take several days to resolve.
Several days. Okay, so not a quick fix.
Doesn't sound like it, no. And regarding talking to customers, they were apparently given one specific approved line.
Which was
Just that the store is experiencing temporary supply challenges.
temporary supply challenges. Very careful wording. Accurate, but avoids getting into the weeds about cyber attacks or specifics.
Exactly. Manage the message, don't cause panic, but acknowledge something is up.
And did the sources mention if people were actually seeing these challenges in stores yet?
Yes, there were anecdotal reports mentioned in the news coverage, people reporting empty shelves at some Whole Foods, and maybe other grocery stores too, ones that rely heavily on UNFI.
So not just Whole Foods, potentially.
Potentially, yeah. UNFI serves a lot of retailers. One reporter even saw printed signs up in a Whole Foods store mentioning a temporary out-of-stock issue.
Wow. Okay, so it went from unauthorized activity in a server room somewhere on Friday to actual signs on shelves by Monday or Tuesday. It's fast.
It really shows how tightly integrated and maybe how fragile these just-in-time supply chains can be when a key node gets disrupted.
Definitely brings it home. So that covers the initial impact and disclosure. What's the latest update from the sources on where things stand now? Are systems coming back online?
The most recent piece of info cited is a statement from UNFI dated June 11th, 2025.
Okay, what did that say?
In that update, UNFI reported they are, quote, gradually bringing our ordering and receiving capabilities back online.
Gradually. Okay, so it's happening, but maybe not all at once.
Sounds like a phased recovery, yes. The statement said their goal was to increase capacity over the coming days.
So, progress, but maybe not back to 100% just yet. What else did they say they're doing?
That June 11th statement reinforced they're working carefully, safely to restore everything that was affected. They confirmed the investigation is definitely still ongoing.
Still trying to figure out exactly what happened.
Yes, using leading forensic experts to piece it together. And they also reiterated they're working closely with customers like Whole Foods and suppliers and their own staff to try and minimize the ongoing disruption.
Okay. There was also something about the CEO talking to investors.
Right. One report mentioned that UNFI's CEO, Sandy Douglas, spoke to investors on Tuesday, Juneteenth. He apparently added a detail about the initial response.
What was that?
He stated that the company took its entire network offline back on Friday, June 7th, right after they detected the intrusion.
The entire network. Wow. Not just some systems, but everything.
That's what the report indicates, he said. It really underlines how seriously they took the initial threat, hitting the big red emergency stop button on the whole operation.
That paints a picture. And just to remind people of the scale here, how big is UNFI's reach again?
The sources mentioned they work with over 30,000 retail locations across North America.
30,000 stores relying on them.
It's huge. And just for financial context, they recently reported net sales of $8.1 billion for the quarter ending May 3rd. So we're talking about a massive player in the food logistics world.
Okay, massive scale. Entire network taken offline initially, now gradually restoring. The big question everyone probably has is, what was this unauthorized activity? Do the sources say if it was ransomware? Do they steal data? What kind of attack are we looking at?
And this is where we have to be really disciplined and stick only to what the sources explicitly state.
Right. No speculation.
Exactly. The official company language started with unauthorized activity. News reports are using apparent cyber attack. But multiple sources clearly state the investigation is, quote, ongoing and is in its early stages.
Still early days, even by June 11th.
Seems so. And what that means, based strictly on the information in these documents as of that date, is that it's still, quote, unclear when those systems will be back up and running or what kind of incident spurred the shutdowns.
So no confirmation of ransomware, no confirmation of data theft.
Not in these sources, no. They consistently use the broader terms like unauthorized activity or apparent cyberattack while the forensic work continues. We just don't have that level of detail confirmed yet from the primary sources.
That's a really important point. It's easy to assume, but the facts presented so far are deliberately cautious about the specifics of the attack itself.
Absolutely. Now, there was a little bit of broader context mentioned in one of the articles, wasn't there, about the general threat landscape.
Yeah, remind me what that was.
One news piece gave some background mentioning a specific group of ransomware hackers previously active against UK retailers might be turning their attention towards U.S. companies.
Okay.
And it also noted, just generally, that past cyber incidents targeting food distributors have pushed the industry to, adapt and improve security.
But crucially, the sources we have don't actually link that specific hacker group or those past incidents directly to what happened at UNFI, right?
Correct. That was presented as general context in the news report. Here's what's happening in the wider world of cyber threats to this sector. But the sources detailing the UNFI event itself, the filings, the company statements, the reporting on those statements, they don't make that connection.
Got it. So context is helpful, but it's not evidence of a direct link in this specific case, based on what we have here.
Precisely. We're focused on the facts related to this UNFI incident as reported by the relevant parties.
Okay, let's try and pull this all together then. What are the absolute key takeaways from this deep dive into the sources?
All right. Point 1. A major North American food distributor, UNFI, detected unauthorized activity on its IT systems starting June 5th.
Point 2. Their immediate response involved activating their plan, containing the threat, and significantly taking systems offline, potentially the entire network initially.
Point 3. This event, publicly disclosed on June 9th and called an apparent cyber attack in reports, has temporarily disrupted UNFI's ability to fulfill customer orders and is expected to cause ongoing temporary operational issues.
Point 4. This disruption has had a direct impact on customers like Whole Foods, UNFI's primary distributor, affecting their delivery schedules and product availability.
Leading to, point 5, visible signs in some stores like temporary out-of-stock notices and internal communications advising staff about temporary supply challenges that might last several days.
Point 6. As of June 11th, UNFI reported they were gradually restoring capabilities, but the full investigation into the nature and scope of the incident is still in its early stages.
Which means, point 7, based strictly on these sources, the specific type of unauthorized activity, whether it's ransomware, data theft, etc., remains officially undetermined at this stage.
It really drives home the value of going straight to the source material, doesn't it? The filings, the official statements, the careful reporting based on those facts. It gives you a much clearer picture of what's known and what's not known compared to just hearing rumors.
Absolutely, especially in a fast-moving situation like this involving critical infrastructure.
And it definitely highlights how interconnected everything is. A digital problem at a distributor quickly becomes a physical problem on a grocery store shelf.
The reliance on technology in these complex supply chains is immense.
Which kind of leads to a final thought for you, our listener, to chew on. As these systems that manage everything from inventory to shipping become more and more complex and automated, what does an incident like the one at UNFI tell us about the vulnerabilities?
Yeah. What are the weak points?
And maybe more importantly, what steps are needed to build real resilience? How do we make sure that food can keep moving reliably, even when the technology powering the logistics hits a major snag like this?
That's the million-dollar question for the industry right now, I think. Finding that balance between efficiency and robustness.
Definitely something to think about. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive on I'm Watching You.
Hope you found it useful.
If you did, please do take a second to like and subscribe to the show. It genuinely helps us understand what topics resonate, and it makes sure you catch our next dives into the sources you share with us.
We really appreciate you tuning in.
And, as always, full transparency. This deep dive was generated by AI, using real source material harvested by humans.
Until next time.